Welcome to Innovate and Elevate, a transformation management podcast, your inside look at how Prince William County is evolving to better serve its residents and business owners. Each episode, we break down the cutting-edge programs, process improvements, and forward-thinking initiatives shaping the county's future. You'll hear expert-driven insights and real stories of transformation, because innovation isn't just an idea, it's happening right here, right now. So let's dive in and discover how Prince William County is elevating how we serve our community.
Welcome to Innovate and Elevate Podcast, where we explore how transformation and innovation are helping Prince William County deliver smarter, more effective services for residents. I'm Rachel Laguna, Deputy Chief of the Transformation Management Office, and today we're focusing on how the Department of Development Services, with support from the TMO, made meaningful improvements to the permitting process. Joining us today is Mandi Spina, Director of Development Services, who helped lead this work. Welcome, Mandi.
Hi, Rachel. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So let's start off today by telling us if you can briefly describe your role in development services, how long have you served Prince William County, and what drives your work in public service?
So first, I'm going to start with what drives my work in public service. Really, it started from my childhood. So my parents served on school board. My dad ran for the mayor of our town. He was even a little bit in the political sector, working under former President Clinton. And even today, they just started up, my mom and dad, a church in our community. So that public service and giving back to our community has always been instilled in me. And I'm very fortunate to continue that legacy. Specifically, my role in development services. So I have been with the county going on 13 years. All but a year and a half of that has been with development services, serving in multiple capacities. But what I like to think of myself as is for our 159 staff members, I'm really the chief culture driver and the chief resource provider. So we manage the entire permitting process, from land development to building development, zoning administration, inspections, permitting. If it's development related, we either lead the charge or we are part of or manage the charge. But my role specifically as the lead agency for development is collaborating with other internal agencies. I drive stakeholder engagements, working a lot with the development community to ensure that our processes are streamlined.
Absolutely. I know how vital your department is in collaborating with so many businesses and contractors and developers and other departments within Prince William County. You guys are at the central part of it all.
Yes.
So before these improvements, what were some of the common challenges that you saw or that your department faced? What are some pain points that you saw within the permitting process?
So really, if you think about the regulatory process, for those who aren't involved in it, it is complex. Sometimes it's hard to understand when you have different codes, you have different ordinances, different statutes, whether those are at the local, the state, or the national level. But a lot of what we would hear is that the process is not as straightforward to follow. Sometimes communication was lacking between different parts of the process. And right now, specifically in the economic time that we're in, time is money for our customers. So what we were hearing is that the faster our processes can go, the better it is for industry. But those were some of the common themes that we were hearing.
When you think back about how we started working together, how did Development Services and TMO start this initiative and collaboration?
So as a new director, so in my 13 years, going into November will be my second year as the Director of Development Services. There was a charge led by the Chamber of Commerce to bring 135 businesses together to really talk about, hey, as a county, we're doing great things. But how can we be even better? Specifically trying to put us at the number one spot in Northern Virginia. And it was a different way for us to collaborate with industry. Out of that came 31 recommendations. And I remember coming to the TMO, and as overwhelming as that request was, sitting down and saying, we're already doing a lot of great work. How do we celebrate that? But how do we take this list and then showcase what we're getting ready to embark on? And knowing how the department is structured, we have very limited resources to try to do that type of outreach activity. And the TMO was really vital in just providing, one, a resource to us, but giving us some ideas on how to celebrate what we currently were doing and then how to move forward with the next step of our process.
And striving constantly to change and be better and have innovative mindset, I think was very helpful as well. Apart from these sessions that we had where we collaborated and worked together, what were some of the tools and additional supports that the TMO provided you to help drive the change within your department and for the constituents?
The TMO specifically has been really instrumental in conducting process mapping for us. I will say that's probably the biggest takeaway as a resource that the TMO's been. If you think about the permitting process, specifically on the site development side, it's very decentralized. At minimum, you're looking at 8 to 9 different agencies, both inside the county and at the state level, who are working through the site development process. So when you think of that decentralized process, the TMO's process mapping for the first time brought all of those agencies together from the county side to say, what is the process? And I think what was eye-opening for me was we know what we do, but when we all sat in the room, it was, wow, I can't believe we're doing it this way. Maybe there's a more efficient way to do that. And the conversations that we had out of that were amazing. We still, that initial work was in January of 25. We're still talking about how to use that process map as we move forward. And I think that was one of the most beneficial aspects of the TMO's help through our processes.
And I think it also allowed for employees to come together, meet each other, find out what is happening, uncovering work that's already being done that's so great, but we just didn't know about it.
Right.
What were some of the most helpful takeaways from these stakeholder sessions or process mapping work that you saw?
And I think what I just mentioned with the eye-opening moments of there's a lot of very tenured employees that we have where sometimes we tend to forget that while we may know the process, maybe our newer employees don't know.
Absolutely.
There's some policies that are out there that we're all very well versed in, but are we communicating that to industry who's new? So I think a lot of those process mapping sessions helped all of us to say, we can be better in the marketing side. We're doing great work, but how are we messaging that out consistently to all of our audiences?
Yes. And I saw in all of these sessions how we were able to map this current state.
Yes.
What we're doing, what we think we're doing, but how do we strive to be better and plan for a future?
Absolutely.
And how do we come together to plan for that future map or ideal state so that it's better for everybody involved?
Absolutely. And I would tell employees, we can't move forward if we don't know what the baseline is.
Absolutely.
So how can change happen if we can't set the tone and understand as a group what the current state is?
Absolutely. And what were, did you find any inefficiencies uncovered or did we uncover any inefficiencies that surprised you?
I think the largest was when we went through the site plan process. When our permitting system went live close to 12 years ago, our EnerGov system, we were in a very different time with how we were using the electronic system. So each department really had their own way of how they use the system, how they continue to use the system. And I remember us talking about how do the different departments submit comments to land development for a site plan review, and there were 9 different ways. And I remember saying, so a project manager will get an email that then has to be uploaded. And as you said it out loud, I think you could see everybody just going, oh, wow, we could probably make that a little bit more efficient. So that was, I think, one of the inefficiencies that we came together as a group and said, wow, we could probably use technology a little bit better to streamline that process. One, it saves staff time, but then ultimately the customer as well.
All right, Mandi. So we've talked about all the different sessions that we've held together, development services and TMO. Can you share with us how ultimately this is going to affect the residents of Prince William County?
I think all of the processes that we put in place directly impact the residents because it directly impacts how we develop the community. But specifically, we're focusing on transparency in permitting, which I think you are seeing from a state level as well. One of the initiatives that we are going to launch in the fall is that if you go onto our e-portal site where you submit your applications for a permit, when you go to the end, there will be a checkbox like you see on many other applications that you fill out that will say, by checking this box, I agree that I have read the following information. And that link will take you to a new site that we've never unveiled from a department standpoint, where we will list out the stated timeframes for review, whether that's for site plan or for a building plan. We will likely include the fire marshal's timeframes in there as well. But we're also going to use the process maps that we've worked on with the TMO to create those into an interactive map so that people understand the process. They can also then click on those different steps to either take them to an agency's website, take them to a specific document, or take them to more information about that process. So I think from a transparency standpoint, that will be very groundbreaking for us. But I'm really excited about how that information will then allow people to understand our processes even better.
That's amazing. And so thinking about that, what are you most proud of when you reflect on this work that we've done on this effort?
So I think there's a lot to be proud of. What makes me the most proud is that really we're calling this a grassroots effort because it's staff. It's not something new to us as development services to come to the table, to collaborate with industry or other agencies. But I think staff being able to see the direct impact in a different way, whether it's through PwC Works or through being a part of the RISE meetings or just showing the work we're doing in a different way has really made them proud. Not that they're not always proud, but it's a different way of them understanding the impact that they have. And I think that's what I'm most proud of.
And you have a great team. They're definitely proud of everything they do. We love working with them. And what advice do you have for other departments or employees that are thinking about tackling a complex problem or process like this?
I'd really say just trust the process. Listen to all feedback. Engage with staff. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable and say, I need help or I need resources to get to that next step. And take a leap of faith. I found tremendous value working with the TMO as a new director. Take advantage of everything available to you. I'm really a firm believer that positivity is a force multiplier. So me as a director, if I can show that optimistic attitude or that positive force, others will fall in line too with that same mindset. And as I'm the cheerleader of the department, I love to really talk about the great things that we do. My staff is just as enthusiastic, and I love that about the work that we do.
They definitely feed off of your energy and your positivity.
Yes.
We love working with your team, like I said. Mandi, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure. We enjoy working with you, and I really appreciate you sharing your story with our audience and for being an example of how Prince William County is making local government more effective and resident-focused through smart planning and collaboration.
Thank you.
This has been Innovate and Elevate, a TMO podcast. Thank you for listening.